Welcome everyone to our class and our in-depth study of the Torah. So we had a little bit of a break, but basically we mentioned many times, you have certain major turning points, crossroads or turning points in our understanding of the din of how does a mazik pay for his damage. The first major stop, of course, was the pasuk that says "Meitav stay, meitav kam yishalom lo," that he has to pay with the best of his field, best of his vineyard. The Gemara then in the Mishnah, the second major stop, said that this din of meitav goes to all the arba avos and the tzad shavas shebehen. The Gemara extended that to not only the arba avos, but to all the cases of Nezikin, up to 24. And Rabbi Akiva defined the din as what you have to pay the mazik, the nizak with, You as a mazik have to pay, if you use land to pay back, you have to pay with the meitav, the best of your land. Now, the next critical juncture then in understanding was Abaya, who said, wait a minute, we're going to now have a interaction between the pasuk of meitav and the pasuk of kesef, and more specifically Yoshev, that says even subin. Torah says you can give the worst stuff subin, so certainly you should be able to give Beinus and Zibris land, but it says no. On the other hand, if you have to give the best land, so it should be subin you can't give. So there was a conflict between these two pasukim, and we had 5 different answers, and we boiled it down to 2 basic answers. One was Reb Papa, and the other one was Rav Huna. Reb Papa, according to the Rif and the Rush, Rav Papa said that the mazik has the open hand, or the yad al-yona, he has the open hand to decide what he wants to give to the nizak. If he wants, he can give money. If he wants, he can give his metaltalin. And if he does give karka, he just has to be the best. That's how the Rif and the Rush learned. That's how the Rush pesaked against Rabbeinu Tam, who held with Rav Huna. Rav Huna said no. You have to give kesef, and if you give karka, it has to be meitav karka. And if you don't have kesef or meitav karka, then and only then can you give metaltal and even subin. And that's how the Rabbeinu Tam pesaked on our page on Tes. That's really where we were holding until we read the Nemuki Yosef. The Nemuki Yosef brings the Ramah and the Rambam, and he has a surprise for us. Instead of learning like the Rush that all 3 items are equally acceptable, or the mazik can decide, kesef, sheva, kesef, or meitav, the Nemuki Yosef says the Ramah has a 3-level hierarchy. If you have money, you have to give it, and you can't give metaltalin or meitav. And if you have metaltalin and meitav, then you must give metaltalin. And the Rambam has a variation on that, according to Nemuki Yosef, that you can give metaltalin and, you can give kesef, you can give kesef and metaltalin equally, because metaltalin is very close to kesef. And only when you don't have kesef and metaltalin can you then give meitav. So he puts meitav on the bottom. So that's the field that we're talking about. Rabbeinu Tam on one side holding Rav Huna says kesef and meitav, and only if you don't have it you can give metaltalin. Metaltalin is the worst. On the other side we have a machlokus about what Reb Papa holds. The Rif and the Rush say that you can give all 3 equally. Subin is equal to meitav and kesef. And the Nemuki Yosef says 3-level hierarchy, kesef, sheva, kesef, and then meitav the worst, or 2-level hierarchy, kesef and metaltalin, and meitav is the last. So that was this very interesting machlokas Rishonim. Where does it lead us? Well, to the next level, which is the arbiturim. And we have a problem with the Tur. Some people want to say that he's following his father, who's following the Rif, that all the Mazik can give all three things equally. That was the Bach and the Drisha. And the Beis Yosef says, no, the Tur is taking a different stance than his father, that arrow is only connected because he's the son, but not because that's what he really holds. And the Tur, Beis Yosef says that the Tur is holding that there's an analogy between the Zikin and Balchov. Just like in Balchov, if you have money, you have to give it first. So the Tur holds that money and its equivalent metalta given before meitav. Okay, so that's what the Beis Yosef says. So the Tur has doesn't mention the word Rambam, but he says the Tur is holding that there's an analogy between Nezikin and Balchov, and just like Balchov, money has a priority, and metaltalin is just as good as money. So both of them have a priority over Meitav Karka. So that's where we ended with a very, very significant machlokas in what is Peshat in the Tur. The Ir Shushan says the magic word, the Tur is holding like the Rambam. And he agrees with the Beis Yosef that the Peshat in the Tur is that the Tur says it clearly, if you have money and metaltalin, you give it before karka. That's what they hold. So there's a big machlokas here in Peshat in the Tur. Of course, that has to spill over into the Shulchan Aruch. So the Shulchan Aruch, we have the same problem. It did when Rabbi Yosef wrote the Shulchan Aruch, did he continue in the line of the Tur that he explained, or not? So there we had the Sma, who is also the Drisha, says that the Shulchan Aruch himself pesaks like the Rosh, that everything can be given equally, but the Shach says no, it's not true. The Rambam, the Tur, the Shulchan Aruch, everybody holds that the last thing you can give is meitav. Okay, that's where we're holding. Now, last time it was very, very, of course, exciting. I mean, as we go more and more into this piece. By the way, I found, Baruch Hashem, there's a Chazon Ish on the piece, which Baruch Hashem will get to do. And of course, we know the Nachlas David and the Semelsa. And there's also someone called Reb Rafael Reuven Grozovsky, Rosh Hashiva of Torah Das, right? Now, if you have you have a connection with someone with the Otzer Chachma, or can just maybe just photograph those pages if you have a library around. I couldn't. I found it. My son showed it to me when I was with him on Sukkot, the first day of Sukkot. He showed me the sefer. So I would just like to have that little portion. But we see that this issue is extremely, extremely important all the way down to our generation. Okay, people are really fighting. The Shach, as we said, is in the middle of the fray. He's the one that moves the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch and the Tur to say that Meitav is the worst, and he brings his rise. That's where it. And the people, significant people after him, the Gra, the Nachlas David, the Rabbi Semelsa, the Chazon Ish, and Reb Reuven, all talking about this issue. So we have a lot of good people who are doing a lot of critical analysis to determine what actually is the din here, because this is a very practical issue. And as we said, there's nodes and links. Not only once, whatever we decide over here will also spill into other cases of Genev and Gezela. So it's a very exciting issue, and we have to be clear about what exactly is the point of dispute. Where is this all coming from? Putting this meitav on the bottom. You see, and that's really what people are trying to bring to us. This move, because we can, as we said, we can just put the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch and the Tur, we can push them into the rush and say everything is equal and just reread them. The Shach doesn't want to do that, and the Shach wants to really say that Meitav is on the bottom of the list, and we didn't see that anywhere. According to the Rush, Meitav is equal to Kesem and Subin. According to Rev Huna, Meitav is better than Subin. So we never really saw a position that said Meitav is worse than Subin and Kesem. So that became a very, very critical issue. Where did this come from? First of all, did the Rambam in fact say it, and did the Tur say it, and is that Peshat in their words? And if it is Peshat in the words, where do they get it from? Okay, because we don't, the Gemara that we have in front of us with the people that working, that doesn't have it. So that's really the issue here. How did Meitav become the bottom of the triangle, so to speak, underneath the thing that must be given only if you don't have Kesem and Shabbat Kesem? That's really the issue here. Okay, now last time we met, of course, you said let's look at the Rabbeinu Hananel himself. You see, and that was very, very eye-opening. And Baruch Hashem, after we discussed it, I looked at it again, and we have to always see what the text says and what people are saying about it. And I agree with you. If we're going to look at that text, it doesn't look exactly like the Shach is quoting the whole Rabbeinu Hananel. So I want to look at that again with you, and first say a Peshat and what it says. I mean, what does he mean? And then have to understand what the Shach did over there, okay? Because as small minds, it doesn't look like that's what's happening. So, in the words of Rabbi Meltzer, it's not Kedai to start up with the Shach. He's not a kid. So if something is so glaring like this, so we have to say, well, what's going on, okay? But the Rabbi Melchor says Sarich Lemonani. I mean, Ein Dayan Don Ela Masha Ayin Rov. You can only judge what it says, and if it doesn't say what someone else is saying, you say, well, I don't understand. It doesn't need to be saying that. So the burden of proof then really goes on the other person to explain himself. Okay, that's where this piece gets even more exciting. And it turned out to be, like this whole idea is to make a demonstration lesson of this piece is very, very full, Baruch Hashem. It goes right down to contemporary people. So, and it shows such important pieces in how the learning process is going. For instance, this idea of there's no Gemara that puts Meitav on the bottom of the triangle. So that has to be done by some sort of hekesh, as we learned in Derek Tvunos. It means an analogy between some other case. So the Russ says, well, it's not analogous to Baal Chov, where Kesef is first, and then you want to say if Kesef is first, Metalton would follow. He says it's not analogous to that case because the Malva gave money as right to get back. But other people will say, it is analogy to that case. It is analogous to that case. Once I have an analogy of Nezikin to Baal Chov, so then I can say, well, in Baal Chov you must give Kesef first, so Metalton is equal to Kesef, and therefore you have to give both of them first, or the Ramah will say even Kesef is before it. But there, I think, is the critical issue, which is so beautiful here, because we have no Gemara that clearly states that Kesef is or is better than Meitav. We have Gemaras that indicate the opposite. We have Rishonim that indicate the opposite. So if that's the position of the Rambam, we have to find the source. So the source comes through an analogy, which means that there's more going on to the Gemara than the black and white cases that you're reading. There's also analogies to be made from one case to the next, okay? And that's part of the learning process. If you can't do that, then you're going to miss out on some very essential halachas here, and that's what's going on. So this piece is mamish Very, very, very full, very beautiful piece, and a lot to demonstrate, a lot to learn here. So let's now concentrate on our shach, okay, who's going to be the, as I said, you're either going to be for him or against him. The shach is very clear about his position and about his proofs. So we're going to look at his proofs a little and see if we can say Peshat like him or differently. And that's where we left off last time. So again, just to get us our bearings, the Shach on the Shulchan Aruch, he brings the Sma, and okay, so the that's what I just want to here's the Sma. So remember the Sma takes the Shulchan Aruch and puts it back into the Mazik and pay with what he wants. That's how he reads the Shulchan Aruch. The Shach is going to bring him, and he's going to say, no dice. That's the Shita Rush, the Rif, that's fine, but it's not the Shulchan Aruch tour and the Rambam. Okay, and that's this colorful chart over here, which we're going to get into right now. So the first thing he does is bring the Sma on the Shulchan Aruch that wants to say everything is equal, all three elements, and he says, that's not true. It's going to be that Meitav is on the bottom, and he's going to learn that from Rav Huna, which was a very interesting chap, how to learn the O. And he's going to say that Shitas Rambam, the Tur, Sharposky, everyone holds that way, and he's going to bring the Milk Yosef, which we are going to look at, and other people, and he's going to say all the other people are just trying to hijack the Shulchan Aruch and put them in the camp of Rabbeinu Tam's understanding and the Rush's understanding that everything is equal, but there's a new sheet here called the Rambam. So that's basically what he's going to do, and look at that a little more carefully. Okay, so the Shach on the Shulchan Aruch, Dibra Maskil is Techila. That's what the Shulchan Aruch says. When you want to collect, when the Basin wants to collect, he quotes the Rambam almost verbatim. When the Basin wants to collect, it collects from metaltalin first. Only if you don't have metaltalin or enough metaltalin to cover the debt, do you go and take the Meitav. Okay, so the Sma said that this is just, don't think that there's any demand. The Nizak can say, you know, I want Meitav. It's not true. The Shulchan Aruch is trying to say that the Mazik can give metaltalin, and no matter what the Nizak wants, he's going to have to get what the Mazik offers him. It's called Yad Mazik ala Jonah. And the Sma says, of course, this is not how the base Yosef explained the Tur, because the base Yosef explained the Tur that the din of Nezikin is equal to the din of Baal Chov, where you get money first, and then you can also get metaltalin that follows also before Meitav. And the Shushan, who said that that was the Rambam. And so the Sma comes out clearly to keep the Shulchan Aruch in the camp of the Rush and the Rif, that all three options are equal. The Shach. The Shach now first makes his statements, before the Ramchal makes such an important point that the Gemara is about statement and proof. That's a very, very critical. It seems like a nothing statement, but it's a powerful statement. The Gemara is basically, you have to understand what is being said in a statement, and then you have to prove it, either because that's the teva of the lashon, or because you have another place that says this statement doesn't say what you think it says. But that's the idea, statement and proof. And if you have a chiddush like here, you want to say that the Rambam holds that that karka is the last choice. The Nizak can say, I don't want karka, I want metaltalin. So the burden of proof is on you. That's all. So it's statement and proof, and Hisham, as he said. All the good things that the Ramchal spoke about are here. Inferences. First of all, you always have a statement, and statement you have inferences, and then you have hikashim. You're going to say about this statement in relationship to other statement. You're going to build through comparisons or kal v'chomers, and then you're going to either say that the two statements are similar or not. In our world here, the two cases, you have cases and laws, and whether Baal Chov is going to be similar or not will be a dispute, and you have to bring your proofs to that statement. Okay, so either you're going to have a proof because it's written there, that's the best proof, or you're going to say in Svara these two cases are equal. So that's by understanding the Ramchal, and although we put him in the background, he's really always there, because the very process that we're doing is the process that he described. We're just not spelling it out to the nth degree, but Bezrat Hashem, as we go along and we understand what's going on, we'll be able to do that better. Anyway, here we are. The Shach says that the Sma is wrong. The Shulchan Aruch is not, and also the two. It has nothing to do with the Rush and the Rif. It's the Shittas of the Rambam. And if you don't believe me, he says, look at the Nebuki Yosef, who says, and this he does say, Shmidivrei Rambam is a quote, near in the Benezikin, I islay karko metatlin, kafinin leiliten metatlin. Ayin Sham. Rambam, if the mazik has karka and metaltalin, we force him to give metaltalin. Okay, so that means there's an absolute hierarchy or preference or din, as the Shach will say, that the mazik has to pay with metaltalin before he pays with karka. Okay, now that is what the Nemuk Yosef did say in Shittas Rambam. Okay, let's just he says when it comes to Nezikin, many of the Meforshim say that you can give a filu karka, a filu havi lezuze. That means if you have money, you can give karka. Ubelvache karka v'idis, and also you have to give idis karka, but there's an equality. You can give zuze, metaltlin. Here he says you can even give idis, all equally. Aval midiver Rambam here in the cave in the islay metaltlin yehivle. So the Nemuk Yosef clearly says Shittas of Rambam is that if you have metaltlin and karka, you must give them metaltlin. Okay, so that he does say quite clearly. Okay, so the Shach does have a Ramah, excuse me, a Nemuk Yosef that says Shittas of the Rambam is Kapeshuto. That one he has. And so that's a Raya, that's a Siyata, because Nemuk Yosef actually says it. Now he brings a Raya from the Lashon, from the Teva HaLashon. That's what the words say, he says. It says, Kesebastin is kakin, goin mitatlin atchil. The bastin collects first from metatlin. Then only if you don't have enough metatlin, it goes to the karka. Okay? And he says clearly, V'din kachu ve'eno tali b'ratzon hamazik or nizak. Now here, it's a little bit of a move here. We didn't get into it so greatly, but it has nothing to do with what the nizak or the mazik wants. He says that's the din. There's an absolute. The base din says, what do you have? Kesef, metaltlin, meitav. If you have kesef, metaltlin, you have to give those, and you don't give meitav. Asur for you to give meitav. We don't ask the nizak what he wants. You don't ask the mazik what he wants. That's the din. That's what he says. Very important. Now, here the Shach wants to bring a raya that's true. That is Peshat in the Rambam. Again, people would argue with what the Rambam is saying. We're going to get into that, but we're trying to understand the Shach at this point. So he says, I'll show you that the Rambam holds that that's the din. And unlike what the Sma says, that the base din has to, figure out what the Mazik would have given if it was here. Because I'll show you that the Rambam writes that if the Mazik dies and gives metaltalin, and leaves over metaltalin and karka. The din is govin me yasamin mi karka. You don't give the yasomin metaltalin. The yasomin, the children of the mazik, have to pay the nizak with karka. According to you, says the Shach, according to the Sma, the Beis Din is supposed to figure out what the mazik would have given. He's not around. He's dead. Couldn't be better than that. So according to you, we should give metaltalin, because you say the mazik would want to have given the metaltalin, yet we see it's the opposite. So you can't say the svara that when the mazik's not around, we try to figure out what he would want, because that doesn't hold water. And the Torah also writes that. And that's what he says. If you're going to tell me, Isma, that the Beis Din gives metaltalin when he's not around, because that's mistama, he would rather give it. He could give what he wants, but mistama, he would want metaltalin. So then he says the law should be with the Yisomim that also the Beis Din should towen for the Yisomim. Well, your father would have given metaltalin, so we're going to give metaltalin too. So this whole idea of the Sma of the Beis Din, Al Pi Din, the mazik can give what he wants, but he's not around, the Beis Din has to decide it. This idea doesn't hold water when we look in the case of Yisomim. Okay. Now, of course, as we get deeper and deeper into these issues, people now will take issue with this shach and explain it's a special case, blah blah blah. But that's what we're going to get into. But that's what the first thing we have to do is be clear about what the shach is saying. After we give him what's called a fair hearing, then we can see the other people's objections to what he has to say. But first, we have to say what he does say. Okay. So if we ask, what's his proof that the Tur Mechaber, the Shulchan Aruch, and the Rambam, most importantly, holds that Al Pi Din, the mazik has to pay with metaltalin before karka. He does have a clear case from a clear statement, put it that way, of the Nemuki Yosef about the Rambam. That he does have. Then he has this proof, which people will take issue out of, but he wants to push the Sma side by saying it. No reason why the Mason shouldn't tone for the Yisomim, but what they would tone for the father, and you see that they don't. Okay.
What is the point of saying Mashpata Alei the Bedina Rami Lagrois Tchilim Yemeham Metalton? In other words, that's the point. He's bringing proof from the fact that the Rambam says it's up to the Beis Din to collect from Metalton, that shows that Metalton has preference over Karka. Is that the point?
Which line are you talking about?
The fact that it's Adin Kach Ve'ina Torah B'Ratzin Hamazig Nizik is just a side issue. The main point is to really understand whether you collect from metaltalin first or you collect from karka first. Or am I missing something?
No. Just say what you have to say again. I just want to hear what you're saying.
No, he's bringing a proof. Rambam. His proof. What's his proof that the Nemuki Yosef is correct? That's what I'm discussing.
Okay. So the Rambam says it.
Well, he says Kisha Beis Din is kakin gayvim mehametaltalin techila.
Yeah. So the simple words mean that the Beis Din have to collect from the mazik metaltalin before karka.
Right. The fact that he's mentioning that it is now an obligation of Beis Din to make sure that the metaltalin is paid first, and it's not telling the ratzon and mazik of the nizik, is not part of the proof. The part of the proof is that it's, in other words,
the proof comes from the lashon. The lashon of the Rambam is that the din in the Beis Din is that we tell the mazik, you must give, if you have metaltalin karka, you must give metaltalin first.
Right.
That's the proof from the lashon of the Rambam.
Right.
Okay. Now this other thing about the Yisomim is another proof, but he says, read the Rambam what he says. He says the Beis Din tells the mazik to give metaltalin if he has metaltalin and karka. That's what he says. It's a din of the Beis Din. There's no I brought up this thing about Ratzon because they're all talking about, well, what does the Nizak want? What does the Mazik want? Like even the Beis Yosef said, well, if the Mazik wants metaltalin, then you give it to him. So he's going a little further even than the Beis Yosef. He's saying, no, that's the din. The Beis Din says, okay, the case is over. You, the Mazik, owe the Nizak money. What do you have? You have metaltalin and karka? Give him metaltalin. Ask him what he wants to give him. They don't ask the Nizak what he wants to get. So I say he pushes it a step further. Okay? Now, why does he say that? Because the Nemuk Yosef does say that, right? We did read the Nemuk Yosef. He says the Rambam says that's the din. And he also says, if you read the simple words of the Rambam, that's what he says. Right? He says when the Beis Din is... so he says that's proof number. The first thing read the first proof is that the Nemuk Yosef says it about the Rambam. The second proof is that the Rambam's simple words say it. If you just read the Rambam by itself and don't put in all these background that the Mazik is not here, that all these background cases of the Gemara, okay, if you don't do all that, just read the Rambam on his own, that's what he says. Right, so that's number two. The third proof he has here is that both the Rambam and the Tur, when it comes to Yisamim, well, the Mazik's not around, he's dead. So according to Yusma, they were supposed to figure out what the Mazik would have done. According to you, the Mazik would have preferred to give metaltalin, so the Yisamim also should. We should tone for the Yisamim. Give metaltalin. You must give metaltalin, not karka. Right. So this thing about the sma that the Beis Din is trying to figure out what the Mazik is saying, he says it doesn't work when it comes to Yisamim. Okay, that's the was it the third proof? Let's see. Okay, so we had the Nemuk Yosef says it. The Rambam, that's the simple Raya Mitzat HaLashon, the simple Lashon of the Rambam. And third is that the case of Yisamim. Those are his three proofs that the Rambam means what he says, that you tell the Mazik to give his metaltalin before the karka. Okay, are we clear on that? Okay, and as I said, there's a lot of people when they're talking, they're each going to pick apart each one of these statements, okay? So that's going to be our work. But first we have to be clear. That's why I'm charting it out, because when we get to the other people, we'll say, okay, now this is statement 5.2 that he's attacking, you know what I mean? And we'll be very clear about it. Now, the next piece here that we have in the Shach is to explain why everybody doesn't want to read the Rambam in the simple way or the way that the Nemuk Yosef wants to read it. Okay, and he wants to say that's because they're all influenced by the Rosh and the Mordechai and the Rabbeinu, actually the Tosfos and other Meforshim, and they just want to put what all those other Rishonim and not the Rambam, they want to push the halach into their camp, and they'll do it any which way in order to come out that the Mazik can give what he wants. But he says that's, of course, it's true about them. He's not going to argue that they say it, but that has nothing to do with the Rambam. The Rambam has his own shita. Okay, so that's what he says in this Gimel. He says be'emes, the Rush that we read, and the Mordechai and the Shar Poskim hold that Rabbeinu Tam says Ein tzarich liten lo metaltalin ela nosan mashi yirtzeh omi karka omi metaltalin. Now this we said we had a problem with, okay, because the Rush said that Rabbeinu Tam held like Rav Huna, and Rav Huna says that you give Meitav and Kesef, and then if you don't have Meitav and Kesef, you give Metaltalin last. That's a little bit, you'll agree with me, that's a little bit problematically over here. Okay. Now he brings other people who say that there's a choice in Rabbeinu Tam, and we did. Now here is another Okay, the question is how deeply we should get into this. He quotes this other Nemuki Yosef, and he says, Nemuki Yosef says, B'Shem HaMeforshim. And he presumes that the Meforshim is the Tosfos. Okay, and the Shem of Meforshim, the Nemuki Yosef says all three are equal. Okay, and he does have a Tosfos in Rosh Perach Hamocha Paros that does say that Rabbeinu Tam used to say that all three things are equal. But that disagrees with what he wrote, what Rabbeinu Tam wrote in Sefer Yoshav, which is quoted in Daf Tes. So we have a little bit of a problem in Rabbeinu Tam because what he said orally in one Tosfos is contradicted by what he actually wrote in Sefer Yoshav. So that's a little bit of a problem, whether Rabbeinu Tam holds the halachas like Rav Huna or holds like the halachas like Rav Papa. We started with Tes, and the Rush started with Tes, that the Rabbeinu Tam holds in Sefer Yosha with Rav Huna that metaltalin is worse. But there is another Tosfos that says orally Rabbeinu Tam used to say the opposite. So that's a little bit of a problem with Rabbeinu Tam. Okay, but it doesn't really matter so much. His point is that there's other people are going to hold that the mazik has a free hand to give any one of the three items. That's his basic point. Okay, and he says, and there this Parshas Hapar, Amid Beis Rabbeinu Tam is mashma. It's mashma there. Rabbeinu Tam is enforced. Ahoda Kamina B'Shas Babakama Rav Huna Omer Okezu Meitav Dahainu Sherushus Biyado Liten Lo Shiyirtza. Okay, now that's legitimate. That's definitely true. If it comes between Kesev and Meitav, so then the mazik, according to Rabbeinu Tam, can give what he wants. That's no problem. The only question is subin. The subin equal to Kesev, and therefore you can give all three equally, like Rav Papa, or not. That's the issue. But as far as having the choice, who has the choice? Rabbeinu Tam says, according to Rav Huna, O Kesev. And that's a simple way we learned the O statement, right? When I say you can do this or this, you can pay with cash, check, or money order, it means either one. I may have a preference over one, but I'm telling you, you can use either one, or else I wouldn't have told you this, or that. And that's a simple way of learning Rav Huna. And then the only question is Subin one of the choices or not? Rav Huna says no, but Rav Papa says yes, and then the question is who's the halacha, like Rav Huna, like Papa? But the point is nobody, and this is the important point to key on, the Rush and the Rabbeinu Tam and the Tosfos, and everybody is saying there's only two possibilities. Either all three items are equal, Kesef, Shabbat, Kesef, and Meitav, or Subin is in the bottom of the triangle. In other words, the first you have to give Kesef or Meitav, and then only if you don't have them, Subin. That's clear according to all those people. But here's the big chiddush, the Shach. The Rambam doesn't hold that. In who? In Rav Huna. Okay, he doesn't learn O as an equal O. And he learns O din al kesef eket islam metaltalin. The din is that if you have kesef, I mean this is Rav Huna, it's not going to be the Rambam in the end, but Rav Huna says you have to give kesef when you have metaltalin. O din tab gabe karka heket islam metaltalin. And the only time you give karka is when you don't have metaltalin. Okay, so that's how he learned. So we spent a lot of time understanding what that was, and there was a chiddush that there's a O, which is a lechatchila and b'diavad, and that's how we learned the Rambam in Rav Huna. O kesef lechatchila, and only if you don't do you give meitav. Then Rav Nachman said to me, "What do you do with kesef?" He says, "Oh, that's when you don't have kesef." When you don't have kesef, that's when you can give Shavit kesef. So kesef is vaday lechatchila and meitav is only b'diavad. And as far as the relationship of metatlan and kesef, well, that's also kesef is lechatchila. And if you don't have kesef, then you give metatlan. But both kesef and metatlan and meitav, and that will be Rav Huna. So how do we get Rambam? Right, because the Rambam is going to hold that kesef and metatlan is equal. How do we get it? So he explains the Shachu Baha de Kesev lo kaimelon kare papa ela filu subin meitav nindu. And this that we just told you that Rav Huna holds that Kesev is greater than metaltalin. We don't hold because we hold like Rav Papa that Kesev is equal to metaltalin. So there it is. So the only the only debate, according to this shach, between Rev Huna and Reb Papa was metaltalin equal to kesef or not? Rav Huna says it's one step under kesef, and Einel Chanami, they're both better than meitav. And if you have metaltalin or kesef, you have to give them before meitav, and also in a descending order. But the leislei kesef, you give metaltalin. But the leislei kesef and metaltalin, then you give meitav. But Rev Papa said that metaltalin is equal to they're equal to each other. Metaltalin is equal to kesef, and therefore you can give metaltalin and kesef equally, and only when you don't have them are you allowed to give meitav karka. And that's how the Rambam's Pesak, like Reb Papa, that kesef is equal to metaltalin. That really was the only that was the only dispute over there between Reb Papa and Rav Huna, the way he's learning now. That really both Reb Papa and Rav Huna hold meitav was the last choice, and their only dispute was, is kesef equal to metaltalin? Are you with me on all that?
Yep.
Okay, that's beautiful. That's what he said. Okay, now he wants to prove that that's Peshat and Rav Huna. Okay. Because that's a very odd peshat. I mean, he'll admit that too. And also, the Gedulei Shmuel, I mean, it's a very hard peshat to say that O is a lechatchila b'diavad O.
Right.
So he can't do that on his own. He wants to bring, again, proof from authority, right? Right, I mean, a Kabbalah. I'm not the only one saying. Big people, me said it. Okay? And here is where we left off after that gigantic introduction, but we need it in order to get ourselves into peace. And we were looking at Rabbeinu Hananel ourselves. Okay, so let's first say what he says, and then we'll go back to Rabbeinu Hananel and look at him. Okay, so he says like this: V'chein muchach lehedya midivrei habal hatrumos rei shar daled, which we can click and go to, but let's just read what he says first. Umavur Sham, the Sefer Truma is called, explains lehedya clearly that gam ken ledas Rabbeinu Hananel, not only the Rambam. Don't think the Rambam is on his own. He comes from that great Masara of Rabbeinu Hananel. Remember, he's like Rav Gersh. He's the daddy of the whole Sephardic world over there, right? We had Rabbeinu Gershom, the Ashkenazim, and we have Rabbeinu Hananel, who leads to the Rif and the Ribagash and the Rambam. So I'll show you the Rabbeinu Hananel also says this in Rav Huna. The Sefer Trumas brings Rabbeinu Hananel, Shavi Sham Hach the Rav Huna. Rav Hananel brings Rav Huna, Umay de Shakol V'Tara Sham B'Shas Aleha, and he explains the back and forth of the Shas, which we're going to go to that later. V'kasav al zeh, v'zeh l'shano. V'kasav al zeh now. Rabbeinu Hananel writes, quote, Meihacha, in the case of Rav Huna, Sheminan de lo misalchin lebalcho ba'ara. We learn from this case of Rav Huna that when it comes to the Balchov, we don't pay him off, we don't pay our debt to him, we don't get rid of him, so to speak, throw him away, with land. Only where he doesn't have zuzeh to pay. In other words, if he has land and zuzeh, then you must pay him with zuzeh, with money. And the only time that he can give land is if he doesn't have zuzeh. Okay, and then we said this whole business that metaltalin is going to be equal to, metaltalin less than zuzeh, according to how he wrote. But anyway, he wants to read Rabbeinu Hananel to say, and he's quoting the Sefer Trumos to say that when you have land, when you have money and land, you must give money, and he got that from Rav Huna. Now, how could you get from Rav Huna that if you have kesef and meitav, you have to give kesef? If you're going to learn the O simply, O kesef, O meitav, right? That means you have a choice, the kesef or meitav. Yet the Rabbeinu Hananel says, from here we learn that a Baal Chov gives kesef first and then meitav. So the way the Shach is understanding it is that it must be the Rav Huna also saying you give Kesef first and Meitav second. That's what he says. We're going to look in the text itself, but do you hear what he's saying here? Am I clear on this point?
Yeah, so
He wants to bring a... Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Bring a proof from Baal Chov, though?
No, he's bringing a proof. It's very important. Let's really key in it because very important. He's saying from Rav Huna in the Zikin, we're going to learn the din in Baal Chov.
And then from that, you're going to have to understand what he holds in the Zikin, I guess.
Exactly. If you're going to make an analogy, here it is, right, a hekish, you're going to make an analogy between Nezikin and Baal Chov and learn that the din in Baal Chov is that money has a precedent over Meitav, and you're going to learn that from Reb Huna. It must be Reb Huna also said money had a precedent over Meitav. How could you learn out something? How can you learn out Baal Chov from Nezikin unless Nezikin had that din?
Right.
We're clear on that? So that's what the Shach wants to prove. Don't think that my L'chatchila b'di'evid is a crazy invention of mine. He brings the Sefer Trumas and he says that's what Rabbeinu Hananel says, that you learn the din of Baal Chov from Nezikin. What din in Baal Chov? The din in Baal Chov that Kesef is given before Meitav. Where do you learn it from? Nezikin. Oh, must mean also in Nezikin Kesef is given before Meitav. How could that be? Must be like I'm saying. The O here is a L'chatchila b'di'evid O. L'chatchila Kesef, and then if you don't have Kesef, you give Meitav. QED. That's what he said. Okay, so we clear at least what he says.
Yes.
Good. Now you rightfully went to Rabbeinu Hananel, right? I was going to write you, but I figured we got to talk about this. It would take me. Writing is very difficult. Okay, but then we went to Rabbeinu Hananel. We said, okay, is this really what Rabbeinu Hananel said? Okay, now let's go back to Rabbeinu Hananel. Now you had the I have the text also, but yeah, that's good. It doesn't matter. I have all these now sources here, Baruch Hashem, so I just have to get the right one.
Okay.
I even have them. I'm trying to get all the things together. Okay, let me just see where I put it. Oh boy, very bad. Okay, we'll look at the PDF because the Mordechai. There's the Sefer. Oh, here's the Rach. No, that's the Rach in the Sefer Trum. I don't think it's the Rach himself. Okay, so I'm going to go just to the text itself also, and you have it there. I'm looking for the Rach on
Rav Huna, right?
On Rav Huna. On Daf Tes, yeah. Okay. No, that is where we left off. This is very critical, by the way. You tell me when you're ready.
Okay, so
okay, so now, yeah, I have it right here. Also, doesn't matter. I have it right in front of it. It's on the screen now. But what's interesting here is see that the Shach quoted Rabbeinu Hananel partially, not completely. Okay. So his raya is, well, you see, Rabbeinu Hananel says that you learn a preference of Kesef over Meitav from Rav Huna. Must mean that Rav Huna said, like I'm saying, Kesef first and only then Meitav, right? That's his whole piece.
Right.
But you correctly said, well, let's read it from the beginning. Now I'm going to read it from the beginning, okay? Okay, so let's read it from the beginning. Here's Rav Huna.
So again, Rav Huna Amar.
Yes.
Yes. So it starts from
The Rebbe Hor the Omer Reb Papa Rav Huna Ber
Amar.
Yeshua, it's in brackets. Yeah.
A little bit higher up, I think. Rav Huna Amar Hada Amar Papa Rav Huna Ber Yeshua. Kol mila meitavu. Lav dafka. Ela oy kesef oy meitav.
Well, stop. Okay,
Rav Huna
that's
says, this is Rav Papa Rav Huna Ber Yeshua said them. Everything is meitav. It's lav dafka. But it's either kesef or meitav.
now. What did we think that? First of all, it's a little problem. That's maybe it's in brackets. I mean, Rav Huna came right way before Reb Papa, so we have to say he was just talking, you know, in theory, but he couldn't have been commenting on Reb Papa and Rav Huna, right? Because they're Basroi, and he's way early. But it doesn't matter. Either we're saying conceptually, or we don't garrus it, and it's just a conceptual problem. But let's see, what is he saying? When Rav Huna said, "O kesev ameitav," right? What was he trying to lafuke, according to this?
So according to this, he's coming to the to exclude to the Afuki from Rav Papa Rav Huna Ber Rav Yeshua that said that everything is meitav.
Meaning?
In other words, meaning
What's everything? Spell it out.
metal. Well, there were three things:
Exactly.
metal and karka.
So exactly. So whereas Rev Papa said, and Rev Hun Ber Yeshua said that Kesev, Metaltalin, and Meitav Karker are all called Meitav equally, Rev Huna wanted to say that's not true. What's not called Meitav? Metaltalin is not called Meitav.
Right.
Now, if you read it this way, okay, if you read it this way, the way we're reading it, then I don't know what the Shach wants.
Right.
Right? Because according to this, the only thing that Rev Hun is trying to say is you guys over there want to put Subin equally in with Kesev and Meitav, right? And I'm telling you it's not true. Only Kesev and Meitav is called Meitav and not Metaltalin.
Right.
Right? So up to this point, you have no preference of Kesev over Meitav. I mean, you know, up to here, the way we're reading it, I mean, it says, "Oh, Kesev Meitav," to eliminate Metaltalin. So now he's going to have to do some fancy footwork to show that Kesev is even greater than Meitav, because according to the simple reading, we're reading like we've always read with the Tosfos and the Rush and all the good, you know, all the people we've been reading, that he's just trying to say, "Oh, Kesev Meitav," and he's excluding Metaltalin. And the Havamin is that you can't use Metaltalin at all. The Osvei.
Right.
Go ahead.
The Osav Alei Rav Nachman, Yashiv L'Rabbi Sheva Kesef,
Stop.
meaning to say that the question that Rav Nachman's question is that it says Yashiv to include Sheva Kesef, which should his question is that the metaltalin should be the same like the Kesef and like the Meitav Karka.
Right. How could you say, in other words, the Havamin can only use Kesev or Meitav? That's the Havamina. That's the first statement that came out of Rav Huna's mouth. Rav Nachman said, wait a minute, there's a third possibility. Yashiv, the Rabbi Shova Kesev. So how could you say you can't use Metaltalin? Right. According to way you use it. Oh, Rav Papa says you can use Metaltalin. That's called Meitav. But I say no. What do you mean you say no? What do you do with Yashiv? Clear?
Yep.
V'osiv alei Rav Nachman Yashiv the Rabbi Sheva Kesev. Okay. Uparik lei. So Rev who answers him with the Leslie.
He doesn't have any what?
Exactly.
Well, let's see. If Rav Huna is coming to tell you that Kesef and Meitav are equal, Kesef and Meitav Karka are equal, and Rachman is coming to say you should also say that Metaltalin is equal, and you should give Metaltalin first. So Rav Huna is going to have to come and say, yeah, the pasuk is coming to tell you that you give Metaltalin first in a unique situation when he doesn't have any kesef.
Or Meitav. No?
Or make that, correct.
Right?
Yes, yes.
Simple. And this is the way we've always been learning the
Right.
Shaklavataria. Right?
Right, that's right.
So now the next piece of the Shaklavataria, the Omelay of Nachman.
B'delasle pshita, the Ami Inchi, memory, Rashvasach, Ephra.
Which means,
say,
people say,
sorry.
when a guy owes you money, Meimari that owes you money, Rashasa, Pari Afra, take Subin. So you don't need a Chiddush Torah to tell me if he doesn't have Kesev and Meitav, right? He should take Metaltalin, even Subin. Everybody knows that.
Right.
Right? From a person who owns you money, grab what you can get. Right. Now. Don't wait till he cashes it in or whatever. Grab it now. So I don't need a Chiddush Torah to tell me that if you don't have Kesev and Meitav, that he can give Metaltalin. That's a Svara Peshuta.
So Amar Rav Nachman, Ma'adutem Aminim Le'zil.
No, Amar Rav Huna.
Amar Rav Huna, sorry. Ma'adutem Aminim Le'zil Tarach Zavin, Ba'aisi. Somebody put in Kesef in brackets.
Yeah.
Kamash Malan Delay. So Rav Huna is going to say back that it's not pshita, that where it's less lay. That Rav Nachman said it is pshita, and Rav Huna is going to say it's not pshita. Why? He's going to say you would have thought that he has to go and sell in order to give kesef. That memra that Rav Nachman quoted that says take what you could get doesn't apply to Rav Huna without the Torah, without the pasuk of Yashiv. Rav Huna is saying you would have thought that the mazik would have to sell his metaltalin in order to get cash to give to the nizik.
Why should because like the Torah is saying, look, you're a bad guy, Mr. Mazik. You go out and you do the tircha and get the money. That's what you would think. It's true that the nizak, if there's no nothing around except metaltalin, he has to take it. That's what a Baal Chov normally wants. But maybe the Torah is makpid on the mazik, and it's a din Torah that he has to go out. If it was just the teva of people, so you don't rely, when someone owes you money, the teva is he's not going to pay you. You better take what you can get. But if it's a mitzvah from the Torah that he has to go out and sell the stuff, so then you'll say, sure, the Torah will put a mitzvah on him, and then the mazik who owns the money will go out and sell it and give it back because it's a mitzvah. That's what you might have thought, right? Kamash Milan, no. The nature of people is such that even if it's a mitzvah, you better take what you can get.
Right.
Okay? Fine. So up to here, there's been nothing new. It's not, just selling out the Shakavataria. It's very nice.
Right.
And it's just...
The question from Rav Nachman later on, Ma'ir Rashvasach Pari, we didn't see that in any other Rishonim, I don't think, did we?
No, they didn't spell it out. Exactly. Right. They didn't spell it why it was Peshita. He only said Peshita. He said why. Right? So the Rabbeinu Chananel explains to you why it's Peshita. And we had the rule, Svar Lam Likor, remember in Darkei Gemara. If there's a Svar Chitzona, then the Torah doesn't have to say it.
Right.
So if the Svar Chitzona is when someone owes you money, take it. And this is a guy that owes you money, so the Torah doesn't have to say he can, if he doesn't have karkan and kesef, take the subin. Whatever say, take the subin. Right. That's obvious. You're going to take the subin. You'll never get your money if you don't take what you can get now, right? So that piece is what Rabbeinu Chananel added. Why was it so peshita? It's peshita because everybody knows. That means a svar chitzona. It's common sense that a Baal Chov always takes what he can get, right?
Yep.
So then Reb Nachman answered him, but no, and that's why I added that it's if this guy's a Baal Chov, then you better take what you can get. But if the guy is a Nizak, maybe the Torah said since he's not a poor guy, why do you usually take what you can get from the lova? The guy borrows money already, he's not in good shape. Yeah, but you also, a guy that you loan money to means he'd have money, right?
Right, right.
So he already, if the Torah didn't tell you to go do the mitzvah, you'd think twice about it. Like Ben Franklin, neither borrow nor lend to be. That's a second soda. Torah says, no, you have a mitzvah to help the poor guy, but you have to know when it comes to a poor guy, you may not get your money back. But maybe the Torah, when it came to a mazik, didn't have that svara, right? He's not necessarily a poor man. He just owes a debt. So maybe there you would say that you don't have a svara of, take from when a guy owes you money, take whatever you can get. Of course, he's not a poor guy. He's not borrowing money. Just having he had a nezek, right? Anyway, it's an interesting back and forth in the Gemara, but that's what he added. He added why it was Peshita. And because of the Sfar Chitzon, and you might have thought that the Torah went against the Sfar Chitzon in this case because it's a mazik, it's not Baal Chol, and the answer is it didn't. Even a mazik, the guy owes you money, take what you can get. So everything up to here is what you said. You said, let's look at the text. So if I read the text up to here, this is exactly what we've been learning up to this point, that Rav Huna says, O Kesef, O Meitav. Unlike Reb Papa that says even metaltalin is in the scene. And the Shakla is, how could you say only Kesef and Meitav? It says Yoshiv, and he says, well, that's only when you don't have Kesef or Meitav. Okay, and he says that's obvious. So not so obvious, because maybe Nezikin is different, and you should let the mazik, sell his metaltalin and get the money. The answer is, when a guy owes you money, even if it comes from Nezikin, you better just get what you can get. So everything was fine up to here. Now, that was your point. I mean, I have to agree that. Now, the Shach quotes this piece. So let's see what he wants to say here. Now, the Rabbeinu Chananel continues. Mehor.
So, Mehasham Hinan, the loy misalkinan lebal chayv ba'ara dishuma, alhecha de kinlan de lesle leleiva ma'is lemifra'e. So from here we see that you cannot take care of the Baal Chayv with Ara B'Shuma, meaning evaluating the land to be of the value of the loan, except where we establish that the Leiva does not have any cash to pay. Aval Islay Ma'is, but if the Leiva has money, Mechayivinan Le Lemifra'e, Oile Zvunei,
Stop. Let's just get
that's what we see here.
Now, so let's read it again and see what he says. Okay.
Okay. From here we see that you cannot pay a malva with land except where we know that the leiva doesn't have any metaltalin or any money.
Right.
But if he has money, so he has to give the money, or he has to sell something.
He has to sell his metaltalin and get the money, and bring him money.
Right.
Okay, stop. Stop. Quoting out of context, the Shach says, well, how did you get the din that in Baal Chov money is before karka? Must mean you held that money was before karka when you said, oh, kesef meitav, right?
Right.
Or else, how did you learn that din? Where'd you get it from? We have a din in Ezekiel. If you're going to say that in Ezekiel money is equal to meitav, so then how are you going to get in Baal Chov that money is better than meitav? Must be that they're equal, and must be that he's learning that this strange or that I'm learning, that you have to give o kesef lechatchila, and if you don't have it, then you give meitav.
Okay, so what is the Shach's proof from here? So his proof was from this part of the Rach.
He's saying if you're going to get the din that kesef is greater than meitav in Baal Chov from this case of Rav Huna, The only way you can do it is if you said, Reb Huna said, oh, kesef first, and then if you don't have kesef, then meitav. That's what he's saying. But first of all, that goes against the whole first part of what the Rach was saying. So what we have to do, and this is what I thought about, and I also saw some other people said it, Baruch Hashem, but it's not the only way to explain the Rabbeinu Hananel. How could you derive that when it comes to Malva, you have to pay kesef before Meitav, but when it comes to Nezikin, they're equal?
Right, okay.
Are you with me? Right? He says there's no way you can do it unless you say the two cases are equal and the O is an unequal O.
Uh-huh.
That's what he says. There's no way you can figure it out, what he means here.
So again, so the Shach is saying that because that if you say that by Nezikin the Kesef and the Meitav are the same, then we understand when the Rach is saying that we see that by Baal Chayiv that you can have a Masalik with land, only when he doesn't have
You're lost here. Okay, let's do it again very slowly. Very slowly.
Just like I'm sort of like jet lag from that.
No. Let's go very slowly. Let's take our time. There's a beautiful little piece. We're learning through analogy. We have a result of, right here in yellow, we have a result of the Rach. What's the result? When it comes to a Baal Chov, if you have Kesef and Meitav Karka, you give Kesef first. Stop. That's the result.
Right.
That's the result. Kesef comes between Meitav Karka. Right? But the Baal Chov, if he has Kesef and Meitav Karka, he gives Kesef first before Meitav Karka. Right? And not only that, he has to go sell his if he has to sell his Karka and bring you Kesef. So the Baal Chov, the din is if he has Kesef, he has to give it to you, and if he has Karka, he has to sell it and give you Kesef. There's none of this stuff with Karka. That's the din in Baal Chov, right? Aval isle maus mechayvin lemifra o lizvune, or to sell the land, va'ase le maus. Conclusion: when it comes to a malva, he has to give money if he has it, and if he doesn't have money, he has to go out and sell the land to get money and give you money. He can't give you the land. He can't give you no meitav. He can't give you no land. Money, money, money when it comes to a malva.
Right.
Okay, is that clear? That's the result.
Right.
That's the result. Now the only problem is he gets that from Rav Huna.
Right.
Where do we see in Rav Huna that there's a priority of kesef over metaltal? Oh, excuse me, a kesef over meitav.
Right.
He said, oh, kesef o meitav. Where do you see that there's a precedent of kesef over meitav? So if I look at the result, it doesn't line up with the cause.
Right.
Is that clear?
Yes.
So he says, must be, the Shach, that what I'm saying is correct. That when he said, O kesef, O meitav, he said, O kesef, and that's lichatchila. And if you don't have it, then meitav. Or else, how are you going to learn this result? The result says, kesef first. You can't learn a result from a cause if the cause doesn't say what the result says.
Right. Right.
Clear?
Yep. Yep.
Now, if the only thing that the Rabbeinu Chana said was this last piece, right?
Yep.
I would say you have a nice proof. because the result is not like the cause, so the cause also must be like the result, and therefore kesef or meitav means kesef first and then only later meitav. I would say fine. But that's not, and that's what you pointed out, that's not the introduction of the Rabbeinu Hananel. The introduction of Rabbeinu Hananel, when he talked about Peshat in Rav Huna, was that Rav Huna saying Lav Dafka Metaltalin. The only thing that you can give is Kesef or Meitav. Equally.
Right.
So he has a good question, though. Okay, if you can give Kesef and Meitav equally, so then where did Rabbeinu Hananel get this result in Balchov? That it's unequal. If you're going to tell me that Kesef is equal to Metaltalin, that Kesef is equal to Meitav Karka, they're equal, and only when you don't have them you give Metaltalin. So then how did he get the result in loans, in the Malva and the Lova, that Kesef is greater than Metaltalin? Doesn't work.
Right, so it must be that the kesef comes first.
That's what he says.
And in Nizikin also.
Exactly. So you don't have to say this, at all. Why? Because the Chiddush of Reb Nachman was to say kesef and even meitav. When it comes to no. The statement was kesef or meitav. That's what Rav Nachman said, correct?
Rav Huna.
I'm sorry, Rav Huna. Have to be careful. Rav Huna said kesef or meitav, right? What was his chiddush?
Right.
His chiddush was you can also use meitav. That was his chiddush.
As an equal to kesef.
Exactly.
Down,
but that's the chiddush in Nezikin.
Right.
But in Balchov, when you don't have chiddush of meitav, so then all you can give is kesef.
Right.
That's how does he learn that kesef has a priority in Balchov? Why? Because the chiddush of Reb Huna was to say you can use land. And let's even make it better. Really, you should only use kesef to pay back your debts. Who wants metaltalin? Who wants the tircha selling things? No one wants the tircha selling it. The chiddush of Reb Huna was, no, you can give kesef, and you can even give land, but not metaltalin. Right? But that was a chiddush of the Torah to say that you can use meitav.
Right.
But in a normal case of Malva and Lova, where you don't have the chiddush of the Torah that says meitav, what would you do? Only kesef. So how did Rabbeinu Hananel learn the din in Malva? Because he said, Reb Huna said kesef and even meitav.
So that's the din in...
But that's the din in Mazek that it's even meitav.
But in Malva.
But in Malva only kesef.
Right.
Only kesef. You can't use meitav and you can't use... you can't use meitav and you can't use metaltalin. Nothing.
Right.
It was a chiddush to say even meitav. That was a chiddush.
Right.
Now, I'm not the only one that said it, by the way. I mean, I read this in, I read this also. I unfortunately I don't remember who I was. In the Beit Knesset. I saw it. I do remember where I saw it. There's these books like Mesifta, but there's a Gemara, and it may even be this one. There's one in the back that has all in before. You ever see the one of the big chidushim that they came out with was first they had the Gemara only had the Ran and the Rif and the Rush, right? Then they added Tosafot in the back. That was the next stage. They had all these, like Meir Makor, other people, right? So, and, now they're going crazy with the Sifta. You have like you have whole books on, Meir Makor, because it's like so easy to find nowadays. People, Baruch Hashem. But whatever it is, but that I was looking at the Gemara in the back, and I was looking through the other, the back, and I saw that there was someone that had put together all different Meforshim. And there, it explained this Rabbeinu Hananel. Because the Shach does have a problem. I mean, how do you get a result from a cause that doesn't exist, right? All we see in the Zikin is that you can use Kesef or Meitav, right?
Right.
So it is a problem. The Shach doesn't, it's not like he's nowhere. I mean, it is a problem. How do you put these two things together? So he said over there, this is what I just said, that you have to say that the Rabbeinu Hananel is learning that it was a Chiddush to include Meitav as an equal to Kesef, right? But without the Chiddush Torah, like in Malva, where you don't have a pasuk that's Meitav, then you go back to the Sfar Chitzona, it says only Kesef.
Right.
So if that's true, then the Shach has no proof whatsoever. I mean, but what's good about that too, because the beginning of the Rabbeinu Hananel was, and now you brought it up last week. I mean, he's saying, look, he didn't start off with say, Kesef first and then Meitav second. He didn't. He said Kesef is equal to Meitav, and the Chiddush of Rabbeinu of Reb Huna is to say that Metaltalin is not there, right? That you can't use Metaltalin at all was the Havamina, right? At all. Reb Nachman said to him, of course you can use Metaltalin. It says Yoshev, he says that's what you don't have, Kesef or Meitav. That's Beshita, because you always say, no, it's a Chiddush, because you might say in Ezekiel you would force him to get, force him to sell the Metaltalin. The answer is he doesn't have to. That's when you don't have Kesef. But the beginning, there was no mention that Kesef was greater than Meitav. So he'll tell you what that's, so it must be, according to the end, we have to learn the beginning that way. But I'd say you're not mukhrach whatsoever. If you learn this way, that the whole chiddush of Rav Huna was to say even Meitav, right? And that was the only chiddush. The Torah said you could use Kesef, and the only other alternative was Meitav. So Rav Nachman said there's another alternative, Subin. He says that's when you don't have Kesef or Meitav. And from here we learn, though, what about the normal din in the Balchov, where you don't have the chiddush of Torah, of Meitav, like in Balchov, there's no Chiddush that says Meitav and Balchov. So there you go with the Kesef. Alone. Purely. So that's it. I mean, it's I haven't defended the Shach to the end, but I'm saying it's definitely not Mukhrach, the Shach. I mean, if read out of context, it seems clear that, hey, how can you put these two things together? It must be that when he said, Kesef or Meitav, it must be Kesef is first. But read in context, which is what you did the last time we met, you don't have to say that. There's no hint that there's Meitav is better than that Kesef is better than Meitav. There's no hint of that. How did he learn out Balchov? Yeah, because you don't have the Chiddush of Meitav and Balchov, so you just go to Kesef all the time. And you can't do anything else. And he has to sell his Meitav, he has to sell his Bainas, he has to send his Metaltal and everything for Kesef. Because there's no Chiddush of Meitav. So, anyway, that... we learned an important lesson here, which is don't quote. When someone quotes something, you better go back to the original source, and see if it works. We're going to have to say again, it's not, he's not a kid, and he's not, trying to pull the wool over his eyes. He knows that we know how to look up the Rabbeinu Hananel. He's on the page after all, He's on page test, So then we're going to have to see what force he had to read this Rabbeinu Hananel that way. Now he says, By the way, when you go back to the text,
Yeah.
he says, "V'zeh muchach lehya mibal hatrumas umavur asham lehedja gam ken das Rabbeinu Hananel." So let's look at the Baal HaTrumas. So I don't know how much time do you have here.
Yeah, I think I got to stop one.
You have to. Okay, so we're going to stop. Here's a good place to stop. Okay, but we have to look at the Baal HaTrumas carefully. Okay, I think he only said the second part, as I remember, which is from here. Here is, we learned it in Baal Chol, and this Gedulei Truma is going to fight this thing. So I think we're going to, in order to give the Shach a fair hearing, we have to go and read this Sefer Truma, and the Gedulei Truma is a commentary on the Sefer Truma. Okay. Because maybe they'll give us some indication that this is a possibility. Because when you read the Rach himself, it's just not Mukhrach, the way he's reading. But maybe the way they're reading, maybe they have some sort of indication. Although he tells you the Raya. The Raya is you can't get the result in Malva that Kesef is before Metalpa unless you read the Gemara this way. Now they didn't read the Gemara that way. But we'll see. We'll see what they said. We have to, again, always look at the text and read what it says, because the beautiful thing about Torah is you're here, the text is here, and you have to say, what does it mean? What does it mean simply? And if you're going to say it means something other than what it says, then the burden is on you. Okay? Beseda. Wow.
Okay.
Very good. Okay. Have a great Shabbos week, and Baruch Hashem, bring that kedusha of all the chagim into the workaday world.
Right.
You know, raise it up until we get to Hanukkah. Okay.
Okay, very good.
It gets dark down there, I guess. So I guess we need another Zetz, you know, another little lift, you know, as this ascends.
When are you coming?
Oh yeah, so I'm going to come in the Esther. It's the week after Hanukkah. So would you be home? We plan to be Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah,
well, let's see. Wednesday night we're going to arrive. Thursday, Friday, and Shabbos. Then we're going to leave on Sunday morning to go to Massachusetts. So that looks. You don't usually leave. Everyone leaves on Hanukkah, right?